What is up, everybody? John from Old Reading Farm here. Thanks for joining us. In today's video, we are going to do some milling. I'm very excited for that. So, I had an issue, last week not with the mill, but with the blades. And so, I have been running since I set this sawmill up, which is the HM136 Max from Woodland Mills. I previously had the HM122 from Woodland Mills, and last year we upgraded to the Big Kahuna, which is a brand new product from them. This thing was just released, and the 122 could cut a maximum diameter 22-inch log with a 17-inch cant. This one can cut a maximum diameter 36-inch log with a 36-inch cant. So it's much bigger, double the size, more than double the size. But anyway, I had an issue where the first box of blades was all good. And I basically, from when I first set this mill up in January till now, just went through the first box of blades. Second box of blades, I was doing some milling, and I was finding after 2 or 3 cuts, it would start to get dull and really hard for me to push through. And I think there's actually a video of me on here, I forget which one, where it just took forever. It took a really long time. I was trying to mill some fence rails and it just was not going through. So I just went through a few blades and I was like, you know what, maybe it's just this box. Went to the next box of blades, so the third box of blades that came with the mill. Same thing, like 2 or 3 cuts and it would immediately become dull. And now that's not normal. Usually you can get a few hours out of each blade, and that makes sense because I think I have around 25 hours or so on this machine, so that's maybe 2.5 hours for the first blades. Which again, it also one of the things that it depends on is if your if your logs are dirty or if there's metal in there, because if a blade hits metal or dirt, it will become dull instantaneously. None of these logs had that issue because I even had several beams like this that I tried to cut, and I ended up doing the same thing. So today, I talked to Woodland Mills, and they sent me out 2 new boxes of blades, and then I just have to pack up and ship with their supplied labels the other blades, which is nice. It's, I've had some issues with this mill, as I think is normal when you get anything that's like brand new. And while it has been incredibly annoying to have like issues with the clutch and with a couple of the log stands or log stops, I've had some issues with it. It was a pain in the neck to set up, but their customer service has been on it since the beginning, and they've been very helpful, so that's good. But I also decided to get a new blade, which is this guy right here. I mean, you can just see how enormous these blades are. I think they're 173 inches around. So that's what, like 15 feet almost? Something like that. But anyway, so this is a Ripper 37 blade that I got from Jerry's Resharp, which is where I got all of my other blades. Because the problem with Woodland Mills is that they're based in Canada. So my credit card charges a foreign transaction fee, even though Canada is, right north of the border. So Jerry's Resharp is in America, so I got them from there. And I've never had any issues with their blades, and I got boxes and boxes of blades that I had on my 122, so I decided to try this on here. Now, they didn't make, when the 136 Max first came out, Jerry's Resharp didn't make the Ripper 37s for this guy. So that's why I had to go with the Woodland Mills blades. And so I'm gonna put this blade on here, and then I think, I was gonna rip some fence rails, but I think what I should do instead is probably mill some blanks for carving, because I think tomorrow and the next day I'm going to set for carving. So I'm going to mill some blanks, which basically just means I'm going to cut some square cants and we'll see where we go. I had a couple of really big logs, and I have this old tulip log that I might actually break down. Who knows? Hopefully our blades stay sharp. Let's find out. So this is a quarter of a tulip log. It's actually pretty big. And now this came because the tree was broken and like came down during a storm. But I mean, so it's still 16 inches by 24 inches, which is still pretty big. And I'm thinking I can get a couple, at least one, maybe two usable mushroom blanks out of this. And I think because it's quartered, it'll be really nice and stable. So we'll see. Right, so that took probably more effort than it's worth, but it looks like I got a 12 by 12 out of it, or 12 by 10. I'm gonna guess a 12 by 10. Let's see, 12 and a half by 11 and a half. That's pretty close. So I've found, so this is tulip, which a lot of people call tulip poplar or yellow poplar. But it is actually not even a member of the poplar family. It's a tulip tree. And so I have found, this used to be one of my favorite trees to mill because it milled like butter. It was light and it grows really straight. Because I guess the way the tulip works is that it does not bloom, or it does not put out even branches until it hits the sun. So when you're in like sort of a dense forest like this, you'll get them growing super straight up and they'll only have branches way at the top. So it's nice to mill because it doesn't have a lot of knots. You know, if you come over here and we look at this little pine tree right here, and you see all those knots there, that's where the branches grow out of. And those are basically like little speed bumps in the log. And even though on the tree, the knot is one of the strongest parts because it holds the branch up, if you mill it and you have a board with a knot in it, that's actually a weak point. So that is not ideal to mill. So that's why I used to like milling tulip, because you get these big rounds and they would be super straight and long and knot free. And they would end up bowing a little bit because, again, they grow so tall that there's a lot of stress in it. So when you mill it, you release that stress and it tends to bow. This, I believe, was a standing dead tree, and so it was already pretty dry, and it was pretty hard to mill, meaning that I didn't have to push hard, but it took a little bit longer to cut through it, which is not what I expected. But I had found that a lot of the tulip that I've gotten this year has been a lot harder than it had been in the past. That being said, though, this is a nice straight cut. So even though it was a little longer than I wanted to cut it, it came out very nice. So you can even see, you look down that edge, that is a pretty straight edge. Love that. So I'm not sure if this is gonna be large mushrooms or maybe bears. Based on how hard it was to mill as I get sawdust in my eyes, that is the worst. I hate the wind blowing down here. It really causes some problems, and I'm sure actually on the video it is too. But maybe I'll put a little windbreak over there, even just like a stack of logs. Anyway, I'm not sure what that is going to become, because I'll have to see how it cuts with the saw. So I got this. I guess this will be, part of these are going to be firewood, because tulip is also good firewood, and since this is all standing dry, that should be pretty good to just put, you know, right on the splitter and split it up. So I'll put it over in my firewood pile to be bucked, and then we'll split it. And I'll take the two little scrap pieces and put it over near my burn pile. But anyway, we'll have to see how that cuts, because what I'll do is I'll bring this over to my chainsaw area, set it down, and then I'll buck it up to size then, whether it's going to be large mushrooms or bears. And we'll see how the saw goes through it, and then I'll figure out what to do from there. Anyway, I'm gonna grab some pine and mill through that, and hopefully see that these blades are doing better. I did know there's no wobble in these, so I'm very happy with how these are going so far. But anyway, let's mill some more logs. Taking refuge by my tractor because of the wind. But all right, so we were able to get out of that. I don't know if you saw how curvy that one pine log was, but it was pretty curvy, thick, and able to get, it's like an 8x10 beam out of there. So, you know, I gotta say, it's a lot of work to, you know, mill these logs, and you got logs, to mill these logs into, you know, as I call them, chainsaw carving blanks like that. But then on the carving side, it's so much faster. Because when I carve mushrooms, you know, there is an element of it that carving in the round is a little bit easier because you already have that round shape on the outside. The problem with that, though, is that I always need to cut off the bark. And so there's always like a little extra work to do to get that all that bark off. But with this, when I have just a beam like that, I can just cut, carve, and shape, and it's like much more simple. Plus, I was able to take a log that was really difficult to use for anything else and now make it worth it to carve into mushrooms and stuff like that. So instead of just, you know, throwing that log away, I'm able to make use of it. And that I should be able to get, let's see, so that's a little more than 8 feet. So I'll get 6, should be able to get 6 small mushroom planks out of that. So I turned that log from a nothing log into 240, because that'll be $40 mushrooms. So, you know, turned a nothing log into a $240 log. So even though it's work, you know, definitely worth it. So anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys for sticking around and watching. If there's any other parts of the milling or carving process that you guys wanna see, leave them down in the comments below and I will make a video about it, I promise. Thank you, see you next time.